Welcome back, guys. Hopefully I didn't confuse you into a frenzy from the last video. So this is the second video to my story about my disability and etc. If you missed the first half, that was just me leading up to this point in time. Before we get into it, I do want to say my band has a Spotify, and we just got up to 11K monthly listeners, which is huge for us. And I really want to say thank you to everybody who checked that out. And it'd be cool to keep this party going because we do have a lot more that we want to release.
My microphone is trash. Lesson learned, don't be cheap. At the age of 5, I was diagnosed kinda with congenital fascial dystrophy, as well as stiff skin syndrome was kind of what was on the table for me as far as my disability, my external issues. However, the thing that kept that from being diagnosed as my, diagnosis was my internal issues, which we're going to get into that in this video.
So come with me, my friends.
I do want to add a little bit of context. In this time, my parents did divorce. I was mostly living with my mom. My mom was kind of my main caretaker throughout this whole entire process. And if you're wondering where was my dad, someone had to work to pay for the medical bills. I had a sister. It's kind of hard when you have a sick kid and you have a sibling. It's really hard for them to feel valued, which they totally are. But that kid does also need attention, as well as a sick kid. Everybody did what they had to do. This time, I was living with my mom in San Ramon. Those damn bladder infections kept on happening. The vomiting, the fever. There would be times where I'll have so much energy, then all of a sudden I'm like, So, of course, my mom kept on taking me to the doctors. And every single time that I would see the doctor, he would just say, it's a bladder infection, it's a bladder infection, it's a bladder infection. Well, my mom got really tired of hearing the same thing. And basically, she just said, if you don't give me some more answers or a direction, I'm going to leave here to the ER to get some answers if you don't help me. What do you say? That doctor, he didn't do anything. He didn't do not one thing. So my mom had to pull a mama bear, and she was ready to go in and raise hell. But luckily, the Children's Hospital of Oakland was smart enough to listen to my mom, and they were able to get me seen. God, he sent down an angel or something, because the doctor who saw me, her name is Elizabeth Hillridge. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce your last name right. I'm really sorry, but you were amazing. If you ever see this, you probably won't. I don't know. But she was a GI specialist, which is exactly what we needed. She was able to admit me into the hospital for further testing. I believe in miracles. I have to say that. Because the things that we discovered, it's crazy. So let's get into that. Doing a endoscopy and also colonoscopy. Hello. They were able to find out that my esophagus was raw meat, and I have been internally bleeding for God knows how long. And I was bleeding for a long time, and it turns out that the stomach doesn't like blood, so my body was processing my blood through so many different holes in my body. Kinky. And that was causing the bladder infections, because the blood would show up in my pee, causing anemia in me. And so what was supposed to be an overnight stay actually turned into a 30-day stay in the Oakland's Children's Hospital. In that time, I did physical therapy 3 times a day, 7 days a week. What? Yeah. I had 2 iron infusions, I had a sleep test, and it turns out that my organs are enlarged, and not only that, my tonsils were trying to kill me at night because they were abnormally large, and I was sucking them in. I was diagnosed with acid reflux. I couldn't have acidic foods, nor could I have dairy products. So I literally just sucked on air. By the end of my 30-day stay, I looked pretty normal. I had a lot more mobility. My iron levels were up. I looked okay, so I was released. So within that time, my mom kept on looking for more answers. I was basically hospital jumping. To prove that this was acid reflux, I had to do a test at the Children's Hospital of Fresno. Blah! I can't talk about this test without getting freaked out, but basically what happens is they take this tube, they stick it down your nose, up in your nose and down into your throat. I believe they did it like twice. That test, I mean, I'm a pretty tough person, but that is the test that it's just, after when they stuck that bad boy in, I had to eat radioactive oatmeal because that tube was used as a marker to see if there's anything that's coming back up or coming back down. My mom and I got to stay at the Ronald McDonald House, which was a really fun experience, especially, you know, when I was a kid. The results of that test came back. Blue's Clues, figure this one out. I don't have acid reflux. Why does my esophagus look like raw hamburger meat, bleeding internally, but not having acid come up? Dr. Hurwitz came to my mom with a solution that could stop things from coming up. It's called fundoplication. Or we could just call it aniston. We just call it that? Why does it have to be so complicated? But before we could even go into the details of that surgery, I had to see a dermatologist. Let's just say if Humpty Dumpty falls apart, the kings know. They don't think. They know that they could put Humpty Dumpty back together again. Humpty Dumpty. That's the analogy we're going to come up with, all right? My next video is going to be about my Nissen surgery, and how I got a giant scar down my stomach. Oops! Thank you guys for being on this journey with me, because this stuff's weird. It's so weird, and it's crazy, and it's confusing. It makes me feel less alone, even if no one's watching. Anyways, see you guys later.